Hey there guys, how's it going? So I warned you a little while ago, and I said when the stained glass metals are coming out, I said if you want to go ahead and pull for these things right now, go for it because they're really, really good metals. They're like the master of a particular attribute. And I said, but be warned, this is Square Enix we're talking about, and despite the fact that they've said there's going to be no new KAIRI metal coming out, they're liars, and of course there's going to be one because they need to increase the power progression forever and ever and ever, right? And I was saying back then, to be a superior version to what we already have right now and to be a true successor KAIRI metal, it's going to have to do pretty much everything possible in terms of buffs and debuffs rolled into one metal to possibly make that statement true. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Kingdom Hearts 2 KAIRI EX. EX Kai in the Japanese version and EX Plus most likely going to be called in our version. It is perhaps the most broken metal we've seen. It is without a doubt the most broken metal we've seen so far, but bar not even close to none. But pretty much what we expected in terms of the buffs and debuffs. +7 to general attack, PSM attack, which we literally already had. Well, I guess it's just +8 with the pet. +7 to upright strength, which we are pretty much at nowadays anyway, because 2 casts of a metal like you know, Axel Prime or KHUx 17 Prime, it gets you to the maximum anyway, so we're at the maximum for that. Casual +80% to its own guilt and the guilt of any following metals in the rest of your party, which is just running out of control already because they're going to have to curb that before too long before we start talking about +200 or whatever. A nice maximum cure that we already have. Oh, and I forgot to mention, it casts an Asuna as well, I believe, so if you're paralyzed, I guess you can't cast it if you're asleep, or poisoned, it will dispel that. And a casual +10 back to your gauges. Again, literally every benefit possible in terms of buffs and debuffs. Well, offensively anyway. I don't believe it gives you any defensive buffs. It acts partially as a defensive metal, but we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, to the enemies, it gets rid of -7 tiers of general defense, which is just ridiculous because that's one of the most difficult things in the game. Well, you really need to get rid of general defense if you want to get anywhere in like a lot of the content, especially Coliseum, whatever. So don't have to worry about that anymore. -7 to the general defense, that's completely gone. -7 to PSM, which is pretty standard by this point. -7 to upright, which I thought if they're going to go anywhere, they might not go all the way on that. I was wrong. They've gone all the way on +7 to negative upright as well. As well as -2 to your opponent's PSM strength, and +1 to a counter if your opponent has a counter. When I say plus and minus there, what I should really be saying is like sets in or locks out a place, because it doesn't add +7, okay? So let's say your opponent, is Zexion like we had the other day, and Zexion starts out at, I believe, like +5 to his general defense and PSM defense. A normal metal will subtract whatever the value is from that. So if Zexion is at +5 general defense, +5 PSM defense, and we're going to subtract 7 from that, we'll obviously be going from +5 -7 down to -2. Not the case. This metal just goes, you are now at -7. If we're talking about defenses, or personally, or like for the character that casts it, they are now at +7 general attack, or PSM attack, or upright attack. It is ridiculous, because I was thinking when I first saw the metal, before I realized what that effect was, I was like, okay, well, if you're going up in PvP, for example, and your opponent has cast, you know, negative offensive metals on you, so you've been nerfed down a little bit, maybe you want extra attack on it for that reason, because then you can, you know, guarantee that you're always going to be at maximum. No need. No, you're already at +7. You just cast it once and you're literally at the maximum already, and they're at the minimum. There's no... If you cast extra attack again, you will only be getting the effect of additional damage. You won't be getting any other buffs whatsoever. Your opponent won't go down to -4 offense. No, they will remain... They will be reset at -2, I should probably say. So enemies like the Barrier Master mean nothing anymore, because you almost want to get the trigger set off for that, because you can just cast KAIRI and then immediately remove all of that. It's gone, don't worry about it. It's just barbaric. I mean, obviously the only thing it doesn't do is raise upright strength and lower, doesn't raise your reverse strength and lower the opponent's reverse defense, but it doesn't take a genius to figure out that they're probably going to go ahead and release a reverse version of this metal as well. You could assume potentially some sort of Shion metal, given the past, given the, you know, the characteristics of the past. This thing is completely ridiculous. In terms of the damage it deals, as a buffer, obviously it's not going to deal heaps of damage, but if you get it to 6-star and it's guilted, it's going to hit with a 4.98 multiplier. That isn't actually factoring in the +80%, so go ahead and add +80% to that as well. So at 80% of 1.51. If you raise it up to 7 stars, which I honestly don't recommend because I don't believe it gets any additional buffs, we're already at the cap. There's nowhere up to go from there unless you want to start branching into different paths, which this medal's not going to do. So, as it stands right now, with the buff cap being as it is at +7, -7, well, I guess +8 with the pet, whatever, there's no reason to upgrade it to to a 7-star medal in terms of that. But the multiplier would obviously increase accordingly, and it would go up to, you know, 22.01 if you had it at bloody 230%. This thing is completely ridiculous. Completely and utterly ridiculous. And it really makes me think the buff cap must increase before too long. It physically must, right? Because any other medal that comes out from now on means nothing. In terms of their buffs and debuffs, means absolutely nothing. Because we're already at the maximum. We're already at the complete and utter maximum. The only thing we can do from here is increase our own defensive capabilities. And we can only do that by stripping the opponent of theirs when raising our own PSM defense. We can do, like, that's what we can do. So defensive medals still have place in your setups, but in terms of like offensive buffs and debuffs, like lowering your opponent's resistance to your attacks, there's no need for those buffs and debuffs anymore. Zero, zilch, there's no need for it. If you're looking at a medal to complement this medal in your deck from this point onwards, if you're going a pure offensive route, you literally need to look at multiplier. That's it. Strength and multiplier, which means that honestly, like tier 3 medals, which at the moment, like right now, before 7-star medals become really like commonplace, like the tier 5s, tier 6, tier 7s, tier 8s become more commonplace. For the time being, a very short amount of time, tier 3 7-star medals might be quite good here because you have, you know, medals of like, you know, ×9 to ×11 off that ridiculous single target multiplier. Times that by, you know, double it because of the 100%. We're talking like, you know, medals in the 20 to 30 multiplier area. They won't be around forever though, as people get more access to, you know, tier 5s, tier 6s, tier 7s, so they can evolve to 7 stars. That'll make them more powerful. But right now, it's just put this thing at the front of any setup you want to have. Put the highest multiplier and strength behind it. Literally don't even look at the buffs. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. Just put the strongest possible multipliers you can put, and you're off. You're off to the friggin' races. It's ridiculous. It screams to me that they're going to have to increase the buff cap. They're going to have to. Which is why I think the fact that it sets things at +7 and -7 is really interesting, because if you get extra attack on this thing, or you have 2 copies of it, it doesn't matter. If the buff cap goes up to, like, let's say, I don't know, +9, or thematically +13, right? Because 13s are all over this damn series. If the buff cap goes up to +13, you're going to then need another buffer to attain that. You can have your Kairi at the front to set you at +7 and them at -7. But from that point onwards, you're going to need another buffer to exceed you beyond that point. So maybe you could still have a place for like Kingdom Hearts Kairi EX, for example, or sorry, Illustrated Kairi EX to get you beyond that point. But this is, I assume the buff cap won't be raised for a little while. This thing is beyond ridiculous, like I've said about 1,000 times. In the Japanese version, there's no mercy for it either, which is fantastic. Great. But it comes with a falling price deal. I think, if I'm going to read their minds here, which, you know, your mileage may vary on whether I've been correct to that or not. Okay, let's look at PvP. There's a reason my game is sitting on PvP right now. There are 3 keyblades right here. Oh god, I'm shaking them around a bit. There are 3 keyblades right here, right? But there is literally 1, 2, 3, 4 dots for more, right? I think what they want you to do, and especially what they want the whales to do, is buy as many freaking copies of this thing as possible. Let's say 3 or 4 separate copies of this thing. Have them all sitting there, because you put it out the front of every single setup that you have, and then you just do damage after that. There is no need for multipliers after that. I think what they really want to do is have, okay, let's say the reverse version of this thing comes out a week, 2 weeks, a month from now, whatever, and you have the whales, okay, and eventually they expand to 7 keyblades, right? Eventually they do that. You have the whales that have got 3 of these and then 4 reversed ones, or vice versa. 4 of these and 3 reversed ones at the front of every single setup, and then their most damaging medals following that on every single keyblade. And that's how the game remains forever. And PvP is locked up tight at the top. There is nowhere for anyone else to come in, because you can't defensively debuff them. Again, they get, so you can't nerf their potential offensively, because they just back up to +7 immediately. You can try and paralyze them, but the pet will sooner, or they'll just heal it off. What do? Can you outdamage them? Yeah, I mean, you can try, but you're probably not going to outdamage a whale who's going to be able to roll for negative ground traits over and over again. It's crazy. It's absolutely barbarically crazy, but this is where we're heading. When the power creep is this friggin' insane, this is what happens. I assume it's going to be released tomorrow. I assume that means after PvP. I think the global version of PvP ends tomorrow, I think, which is, what, 15-ish hours from now. So it won't be out in time for that, thank Christ, because those of us that aren't going to be able to pull for it like mad. Well, I mean, I'm going to try and pull for it. This has been like the crazy guy shouting from the rooftops for ages that the end times are coming, and I've sort of been ready for it. That's why I've been avoiding pulling for most things, but here we go. Okay, what if you can't afford it right now? Here's the thing. If we do get the free pull, the Japanese version got, if I didn't mention it, I've recorded this thing like 3 times. The Japanese version gets their first pull for free on the falling price deal. If we do get that, of course, take the free pull. But if you don't have a ton of jewels after that, what could you do? You could look at the trends that have happened in the past, right? The same way that friggin' Kingdom Hearts 2, Namine was introduced, which was a huge deal at the time, was a falling price, pissed off a lot of people. I believe when KAIRI'S was released, it was a falling price without a mercy, again, pissed off a lot of people. If this is going to be the same way, learn from that. Please, please, please learn from that. It is, of course, going to be so tempting to run out the gate and pull for it. But eventually this thing will come with a mercy. It's no good you bankrupting. Like, if you want to try it, obviously I can't stop you. And the fact that people are going to be going out there and pulling for it like mad, it's going to be so friggin' tempting. You don't want to do it. If you're sitting at like, I don't know, let's say 10,000 jewels or whatever, do your free pull, obviously, if we get one, of course. But consider that if you do any more pulls, you might get, let's say, 4 or 5 more pulls, right? At the falling price rate. And you might get it, depending on how good the rates are, you might not. And then you got nothing. And then you watch everyone else who gets theirs go just ballistic and destroy all the content. The thing is, we're already doing pretty good on the content right now. In terms of the buffs and debuffs we have right now, I mean, I can show you a setup I'm doing right now in PvP, where I'm like top 1,000 in PvE, my apologies. And I'm only using like 3 or 4 medals. With the amount of buffs and debuffs that are available these days, it's almost like not that huge of a deal. The important thing about her is that she wraps it all into one package. I don't know if you can see this, you probably can't see because it's so small, but I'm killing pretty much all the enemies. And again, I'm in like top 1600 of PvE, and I don't even use my 5th medal at this point. The medals that we have right now are so stupidly powerful that this thing is not going to be the earth-shattering medal that KAIRI'S was in terms of its effect on the meta, just because we have the tools to get to her level almost as quickly as what we could do otherwise. Like, again, I'm using this plus this right here, and in 2 medals, I'm pretty much able to do what that Kairi does in terms of my offensive and defensive debuffs. I don't get the full gambit, I'm just going towards the magic attributes. I don't know if you can see, but I've got a KAIRI'S right there, which gets me my general strength and some negative defense, and then I use a Vanitas to copy a KHUx 17, which gets me the rest of the general defense I need, all the magic buffs that I need, all the upright buffs that I need, all the upright debuffs that I need, all the magic debuffs that I need. And for a predominantly magic Keyblade, that's all I need. That's all I need, because effectively, I might swap this, you know, KHUx 16 out, but effectively that Keyblade Axe is a pure magic Keyblade. And again, for the whole Master of One thing that we talked about, that fits in that regard. So again, it's not... Obviously this medal's insanely good, and I'm going to obviously try and pull for it. But if you're clever, it won't destroy you to not have it. KAIRI'S, Kingdom Hearts, like illustrated KAIRI'S, was a huge deal just because at the time there was no way to do everything that it did without using like 3 or 4 medals to do it. So it did heal, it did gauge restore, it did a huge amount of buffs, and it gave you the upright buff at the time, which at the time like only 1 or 2 other medals had. To get that, you would have to combine like 3 or 4 medals different effects. With this thing right here, like I'm saying, it's not perfect because I'm not getting, you know, power and speed and magic. I'm only getting magic, but I can do more or less what it does in 2 or 2.5-ish medals worth of work, and I'm dealing a lot of damage at the same time. So personally, I'm not super worried if I don't get it right now. I might even... I'm going to pull for it. I'm going to try and pull for it at least. I'll do a few pulls. But not having this, if you've been playing smart up to this point, it's not going to break you. You may even want to consider not pulling it right now and trying to mercy it at a later point, because you know a mercy is going to come on this thing. It has to. or else you're going to leave all the players behind again, which we do. We do this dance every time, right? But eventually, you know, Kairi EX, what we used to call Kairi EX, Illustrated Kairi EX, Kingdom Hearts 1, whatever we're going to call it, was available in a Mercy several times. This thing will be the same way. Like I said, if you want to play the odds and go for it and pull on the falling price, hey, that's your call. That's, of course, your call. But don't be disappointed if it doesn't work for you. That's all I can say, because the luck of the draw is for everyone that gets it on their first pull, Endorphin, on the free pull no less, the bastard, congratulations to you, man. Everyone that gets it on their first pull, there's going to be people that don't get it after the 20th. And this is how it is. The Mercy will always make you get it, right? So if you just keep enough jewels, like let's say 15,000, for an eventual Mercy when it does come out as a Mercy, which again, it sucks because it could be months from now. Probably not months, probably, you know, 3 or 4 weeks from now, I'd guess. At the latest, you'd have it. The point is you'd eventually have it. Anyway, I've rambled on so long about this, the medal's not even out yet. If you did get it in JP already, congratulations. I'm probably going to pull for it as soon as it comes out in the English version. And yeah, good luck to everyone involved. This game is crazy. All the best. Bye.